welcome to another episode of exclusive L&D podcast series by EduHubSpot. Today we have a special guest and he is Mr. Reetoopan from EXL and have also contributed to organizations like UnitedHealth Group and IC that is more than 14 years and FirstSource and IBM and others. So hi Reet, welcome to EduHubSpot L&D podcast. And I
Thank
see
you.
that you have spent over, like 2 decades helping organizations build capability. Before we talk about the future of work, I would request you to, share your journey.
Thank you, Yogita, for the warm welcome. Yes, it has been more than 2 decades now in the industry. Began off with the mother of all, ITES companies, which is JEKIS, and then moved on to IBM. Then, of course, my biggest stint has been UnitedHealth Group, which is Optum, and a very interesting phase in FirstSource, where I was introduced to the world of AI. And then finally at EXL, where I got to know what is capability development truly is, right? When I look back at my career, I think I was always destined to be in learning because I did my master's in literature and I always wanted to be an academic, right? But given the job scenario that time, and I think it's the same now as well. I mean, I figured out that it's best to kind of move into the corporate world, and that's how I'm here. And I think and imparting learning and being in this whole ecosystem of developing people is something that I've always enjoyed. And I think that's why I'm here today.
That's great, Reet. Thanks so much for the quick introduction about yourself. So I would just begin with a very basic question, which I think is the most common that everyone of think. The question is around, that whenever you think about a word or anybody that listens of capability building, the first thing that comes to their mind is training. So if you have to describe your entire life's work journey and in one sentence, would that be?
In one sentence will be difficult. I think first, by killing the word training, I'm only half joking. Okay, that's what I can say. The moment you frame capable development as training, you have framed it as an expense. The reframe is we are in the business of closing the gap between the company's strategy and the company's actual capability. That gap is a business risk, right? And hence we are managing enterprise risk. That's what capable development is all about.
Thank you so much. This is something I'm hearing for the first time that you have described training as one of the expenses. The next question that if you have joined a company tomorrow and had only 90 days to improve workforce capability, where would you begin? Like it's managers or skills, culture, leadership, or technology.
Those are good pointers, I guess. I think the first things which touches my heart and my mind will be culture, right? What exactly does a company stand for? The moment we define that, I think the next things which comes is leadership. Do we have the right leadership fit for those cultural values that we stand for, right? If not, can we own them to be those? The moment we have got leaders in those, the next thing which comes is the managers. They're going to build the whole system together, right? And then comes to the frontliners, we have got added things which are the skills and the technology. I think these are two things which are, from my perspective, are the pillars which sit at the periphery, but in the center core of ensuring that a company is successful. We have got culture, we have got leadership, we have got managerial capability. I think these three things are completely non-negotiable. Skills we will build with time, right? Technology will change every 15 days or maybe every week these days, right? So these things can be at the periphery, but this core pillar has to be very, very well defined, constantly, lubricated to give better results, and always developed to keeping the end customer in mind.
Thanks for clarifying it and the clarity of the thoughts around this question, that how in the 90 days you are going to frame it around. So with this we can say that capability building kind of a questions and discussions are always incomplete and impossible if there is no discussion about AI. So my next question is around AI, on that everyone is talking about AI and AI is replacing jobs. So I also have heard you often speaking about AI augmenting capability instead. So what do most organizations misunderstand?
So I think AI is not here to replace human beings. AI is here to displace them, right? To displace all of us, to make us feel uncomfortable, right? And so that we can, at the end of the day, kind of make our jobs easy, right? At EXL, the strategy is to become a data and AI company that embeds AI into the client's core workflows. At the same time, you cannot sell what your own people can't do, right? For example, if you're telling a customer that let us redesign your whole claims process with agentic AI, our own people better be fluent in agentic AI. right? So capability development here, to connect back to my previous answer, isn't just supporting the strategy. It is the delivery mechanism for the strategy. If there is no upskilling, there's no revenue. And that's the link that all of us have to make it very, very explicit. Take our platform, EXL.ai, right? It's our agentic AI platform, and it now supports something like 250 plus pre-built AI agents and accelerators. That's the last time that I checked it. Now, EXLData.ai, this makes enterprise data AI ready, right? These are not just off-the-shelf products. Each of them implies a capability that our delivery teams need to have, right? Building agents, governing them, fine-tuning domain models, so on and so forth, right? When we build the Agent Studio, this is a no-code platform for building AI agents. The capability question immediately followed, right? Who can actually use this? How fast can we get, those X thousand of people more there, right? So capability development is literally the throttle on how fast the business can scale its own technology. And hence, we have to speak in the context of business outcomes and not learning metrics, right? Things like, nobody in the C-suite would be ever been moved by, by the training hours, right? And the EXL figure on AI system model development, that's get your seat in the strategy table. Because now you are speaking the only language that table understands or that table speaks, which is time, cost, growth, risk. And hence AI is, we just cannot shut off our eyes from AI. I think all of us accept that. All of us are living with that. The faster we get there, the better will be for all of us.
Right. Well said, Reet. Even I, resonates with your thoughts on embracing the new technologies which are emerging and making them a part of our, day-to-day routine, not to be displaced, but actually to be more efficient. So thanks for answering this, Reet. And I also have seen other challenges from organizations. So challenges like, working with external learning partners. So looking ahead, what capability should enterprise learning partners bring that they often don't today? So what do you think about this?
It's funny that you asked me that question, because often I kind of, as learning leaders, you will get random calls from every other partner, right? And which is fair enough, because they are doing their job. I am doing my own job. And hence what I do is that the first thing that I say is that first send me your offerings list, and then we'll look into it. First things that I see is that one, most of the partners are still stuck in the previous, age-old conventional ways of delivery, right? You go and give a lecture, you do some assessments, you do some games here and there, and you're done. That doesn't work, right? Today's age does not want you to be in the classroom. Today's age wants you to be post-COVID. We all know how powerful the virtual learning system is. And then, we have to go and speak to the customer, and we'll have to customize the program. We cannot have something which is kind of a run on the mill, which kind of it fits everyone. Will not do. I see there are very few partners who have done that. They'll have, is that they will not say yes to a program, and which I love it. If I go and say that I want this program in the next 1 month, they will flatly say no. And I said, then if I say why, he said, okay, because although we have got this framework, we have to now go and speak to your leaders, to speak to your stakeholders, and come up with a methodology as to which is going to fit EXL. That is number one. Number two, they're very, very clear about what is the ROI that this program is going to have. Okay, you pump in so many thousands of dollars, what's the output? Now, it's very difficult to measure in such, behavioral aspects, how the outputs are. So we go to, through all the 4 levels of, of Kirkpatrick and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, there has to be a very, very, definitive shift from the pre to the post, right? I think that's something that we all have to agree. Third, irrespective of what type of training you are doing, right? The element of AI, in some way or the other, if you can build in, if you can weave in, because I've got an ulterior motive here, okay, as an employee of EXL. In some way or the other, we would like our employees to eat, drink, breathe AI, right? And hence is something that AI fluency, data literacy, synthesis, all of these things have to be, thereby kind of, transform the learner's mindset, right? And it becomes more like an expert mindset in any kind of, learning requirement that we have. I think that these are the four things, that if we can have, I think our partners, we should keep that in mind before we kind of approach any organization. And hence, the other day we met somebody, of course, I won't take the name, but, it was just a copy paste from somewhere else. And we were like, okay, how does it make value add to us? Okay. let's be genuine. We may not be as smart as we would like to be, but we definitely have seen the world, right? So let's kind of, we'll have to be very, very genuine in our efforts. Do that hard work. Don't come with, this is my offering, please take it. That will not work for any organization these days.
Absolutely. Rightly said, Reed, that, every offering which is combined with the, the kind of pain point that a organization can solve for what you are going, the objective has to be clear. Additionally, the ROI measurement, like, from the beginning, it has to be a part of the discussion. Thanks for answering this, Reed. Like related to the same question, the another question coming into my mind is, at times we often have felt that there is always I would say, not a clarity that we receive from one angle in terms of the requirement. So what is that problem that can be solved, especially when you are a professional, from L&D side? So how would you be solving such problem when the requirement is not clear? And what do you think should be improved?
I go back to what one of my leaders kind of told me about me to a long time back, that capability development / learning fraternity are not order takers. Okay, that's one thing that our business has to understand. Hence, anyone and everyone who comes up to us, let's do a communication skills training. Okay, my first question is why. Okay, till the time that 5 why is not resolved, we don't do that training. I'm categorically clear about that. Because most importantly, it's a waste of the learner's time, because that can be used in productive hours. Second, our learning fraternity is very small, catering to such a big organization, right? Hence, we have to be utilized in the best way possible. So what is the business outcome? Is paramount before we kind of launch any kind of learning intervention. Number one. Number two, what I've seen is that leaders come with a whole laundry list of things which are completely disparate from each other. There will be one communication, second then it comes on the AI fluency. I'm like, okay, why are these two things similar? Why are they the same requirement or for the same set of people? It can be. I'm not saying no to it. What is the proof of the pudding there? Hence, I think first things first. I think the owners of the learning fraternity is that we kind of go back to them with very, very pointed, objective questions, which the learner's manager and the learner's leader, they all have to articulate very, very clearly. I mean, we have lost that habit of doing a detailed training needs analysis, but I think it's very, very important. It's very, very important because without that, it becomes just a tick mark activity. And number two, I think going back to the operations leaders, I think let's not say what do we have to do as a learning fraternity. You tell us your problem. We are here to solve your business problems. Don't tell us what to do. That we will be able to manage. We will co-create with you. We will go ahead and work with you to have a solution which kind of helps each one of you and is a win-win for all of us, right? So that's the message that I think all of us have to keep in mind.
Absolutely, Reetoopan, I totally agree on the same thing. So ever that happened to you that, after delivering a program, you have been asked that, Reet, I do not see that what we were trying to solve it, we still could do it. Still, the mess is the same. So any time that has happened.
Oh yeah, many times. I think one of the first things that we need to do is introspect, right? First thing that I do then is that did I rush through the program? Right? That's the most common mistake that I do, right? Rushing to a solution, which I think I should not be doing. And I think I go back and then I kind of reinvent the wheel, right? And can go back to the drawing board and say that, okay, let me kind of see as to where we made a mistake. Number one. Number two, I think to be very fair to human behavior, sometimes it is also that, okay, you didn't do what I wanted to ask you or wanted you to do, and hence the action is this, right? Which should not be the case as well, because at the end of the day, we should be able to kind of, come with a collaborative, end goal statement in mind, right? Both the stakeholder as well as a learning team. And we kind of, we have to work together to have that created in advance and kind of take steps. I always go back and kind of dissect and, peel the onion, as they say, and kind of, and see as to where did we actually make the mistake. And don't repeat that same thing for the next cohort, right? And that's how we kind of, I kind of try to improve, right?
Absolutely right. So my last question would be my favorite part, which is a scenario-based question. So it is something that you have to advise a CEO of a 20,000 employee company. And it's all usual issues. They say that, we have invested a lot in AI tools, but the employee productivity hasn't improved yet. So if you could recommend only 3 actions over the next 6 months, what would that be?
Interesting. Okay. I think first of all, shift from generic training to role-specific micro workflows. Okay. Generally, we do this whole, this generic overview of an AI tool. resulting in what we call as AI theater, right? People use it to draft basic emails and summarize long PDFs, so on and so forth. And what we should do is that identify top 3-5 density or repetitive roles in the company. For only those roles, map out exactly what the daily workflows are, rebuild them with AI embedded into specific steps, right? Don't tell the people that, go and use AI. Rather give them a recipe book, which says that, okay, use this for this task, use this prompt and generate this draft, and then spend time on the next step, which is validating the output, right? That is one. So shifting from generic training to role specific micro workflows. A second is something which I think is, which is kind of, I think more people focused, which I said that employees rarely optimize their own workflows because they feel that sometimes it's like a reward for higher productivity is what? Giving a larger chunk of the work, right? And hence issue a top-down mandate from the leadership team, right? If AI saves a department an average of 4 hours per week per employee, those 4 hours must be explicitly reinvested into high-value strategic work, right? It should not be that you're giving the same work again, because then what will happen is people will get bored and they will not do that, right? So things like, you do some client relationship building things, proactive problem solving. Let people think, right? If you've saved those 4 hours, use those 4 hours strategically and, to make their lives interesting, right? I think the third thing that we would say is that incentivize and scale, right? Grassroots prompts and use cases. What does it mean is that reward, right? So create an internal incentivized AI prompt and workflow marketplace, right? Reward employees with bonuses, with recognition, additional PTO, time off, right? And whoever submits a verified AI workflow that saves at least, say, 2 hours in a week, let the operations team vet, standardize, push those winning workflows to the rest of the organization on a weekly basis, right? Basically, turn AI adoption into a team sport. When employees see their peers saving hours of doing the same tedious work using a specific template, adoption then happens organically, right? And far faster than any top-down IT, directive. I think these are 3 things that I would do there.
Amazing. Thank you, Reetoopan. You have a very, clear thoughts around what you are ready with from the learning experience. It's really insightful having you here today in L&D podcast. And thank you so much for joining today, Reetoopan. Anything that you would like to share?
I think, what we should do as the learning fraternity is that we should stop measuring adoption, I think, we should start measuring what we call as friction reduction, right? Which specific tasks are taking less time. Treating AI not as a software, but as an organizational change management initiative, and keeping learning at the core of this whole change management. I think if we all follow as a mantra, we are going to win this race for sure.
Thank you so much for sharing this, Reet. That's really insightful. And with this, we will be, coming back again with a new episode. Thank you so much, Reet. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. Bye-bye.